club this morning, so that's good. The downside of getting up so early is that you get sleepy really early in the day. Like you end up taking naps at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of awkward. But the good side is that you get in there, you run, get your cardio up, and the oxygen really helps your brain, and you get the testosterone flowing from lifting weights, and that kind of helps you too. Testosterone studies show testosterone elevates your mood and boost your confidence. So I would say if you have anybody in your family that's dealing with depression, there's a lot of studies that say that exercising really helps with depression and mental health. So again, I'm not here to tell you that that you shouldn't take your meds or whatever your doctor is telling you to do. But just know that one of the problems with the medical system is that they always want to give you a pill for everything. Anybody else notice that? Everything's a damn pill. Take a pill for this, take a pill for that. I was just in Killeen, Texas, which was a great trip, and I was treated really well by the people down there. They did a great hair show. I think it's called the Armed Forces Hair Show, and I was down there and I met this amazing family, and they where and the father was talking about that, and there were some doctors there, and that was one thing that we were kind of discussing is how there are just people that will just give you doctors that would just give you a pill for everything. He was a veteran. There's a lot of veterans down in Killeen, Texas, because there's a military base down there. My father used to be stationed down there back in the day, and and he was like, "Yeah, man, I was going to the VA, and every time something went wrong, they'd be like, take a pill, take a pill, take a pill, take a pill." So I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I do not give medical advice, nor do I give financial advice. But one of the things I can say is that I don't encourage you to I encourage you to get second and third opinions, right? There's solutions out there for everything. And I believe that unfortunately, because of the money, because of the capitalism, we're not always encouraged, or at least the system isn't encouraged to find the best solution or the most preventative solution. The system just wants to make money. That's what it is. Now, I see Brian. Now, this is interesting. Brian's on TikTok. He says, I recall seeing you at church with your boyfriend. So, how have you been? Boyfriend? No, man. No disrespect to nobody who got boyfriends out here, but that ain't me. Yeah, he said it in the chat. See, people come in here just saying crazy stuff. We're talking about my boyfriend. Don't y'all be talking about Tyrone like that. Anyway, all right. So let me stop before I start weird internet rumors. No, I do not have a boyfriend. Never had one. Don't want one. Yeah, but what is funny is if you're a straight man and going to like Atlanta where they got guys that are real aggressive and apparently I must be like a really sexy man or something because I've been hit on a couple of times and it's a little awkward. It takes time to kind of adjust to that to kind of be like, yo, what just happened here? Like what's going on? So the world is changing. I'm gonna tell you, I'm kind of old school and it's a little bit of a shock to your system. But again, no disrespect as long as you're respectful and as long as I could just tell you, hey, that's not my thing, and you're okay with that. That's fine. I think that what was disturbing, just 'cause since we're talking about weird stuff like this, is like the fact that Diddy, the idea that Diddy was accused of taking like straight men and forcing them to become something other than what they really wanted to be, if you know what I mean, like by drugging people and taking things that didn't belong to him, stuff like that. If that was true, that's a real problem. That's something that I think is very disturbing. But anyway, let's get off of that subject and let's focus on what we want to talk about today. So one thing I wanted to discuss from an economic standpoint is there's a post I put up on my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. My other Instagram is Dr. Boyce Money, and it has to do with my dad. My dad. I was in Killeen this week. I told you all that. And when I was there, I went back to the house I lived in when I was three, and my father was in the military at that time, and so I had a lot of interesting memories. I spent a lot of time meditating and reflecting on that time of my life, trying to remember things. And so one of the revelations I came to in my reflection had to do with economics and something that we've kind of tapped on in Money in the Morning, and I wanted to kind of bring this up again, and because I shared something on this and maybe it'll help you in your investing journey to kind of understand what investing actually looks like. Now, one of the things I've mentioned to you all before is that the big mistake that people make about investing is they think most investing has to do with money. They think it's all about money. And if you really understand investing kind of the way people like me do, you realize that most investing that you do in your life has nothing to do with money. Most investing has to do with all the things that money can't buy. All the things that are more valuable than money. All the things that money can never replace in a million years. If you invest time, if you lose time, you can't get time back. I've tried. I've been sitting around hoping one day that someone will invent a pill that'll make me 20 years old again, and they still haven't invented it yet. These lazy bastards. And so, one of the things I would say to you is, I would argue that time is not as valuable as money. I would argue that time is more valuable than money because time is really hard to replace. And so, don't waste that time. But here's another aspect of investing that I wanted to kind of show you. And it actually, I expressed it today with this post that just came to me this morning, and I'm gonna pull it up on my screen so you guys can see it. And it's a picture of me when I was 3 years old, 4 years old maybe, living with my father in Killeen, Texas. And I thought about this because I was in Killeen this week, and it was very emotional for me because I love my family and all that good stuff, like a lot of people do. And here is the picture. Let me see if I can pull it up. And I made a little post on this. And hold on, let me see. Can y'all see the picture? Give me a yes so you can see it, because I this Zoom has changed everything, and I can't even figure out where stuff's at. Can y'all see that picture on there? Do y'all see the image of me? Okay, thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. So that's me, and that's my dad. When I say my dad, y'all know the story. Some of you do, some of you don't. I'll tell you. When I say my father, I'm talking about Larry Watkins, right? Larry Watkins is the man that raised me. He's the man that made me into who I am, right? In terms of teaching me a lot of my value systems, a lot of good things, I got from him. He was a soldier. He went to Vietnam. He's a very tough man. He's not. I haven't seen him show a lot of fear. He was a police commander. He commanded several hundred men and women on the police force. So having, if you ever had a dad like that who's like the boss's boss kind of guy, it's tough. It's hard, but you also learn courage and consistency and commitment and just how to be a solid dude. Like like I would say my dad, it's good or bad, he was a very solid kind of man, and I admire him for that. Now me holding the bottle, now that's the 4 year old me, of course. I don't know why I'm looking in the camera like I'm scared or something, but anyway, the bottle I'm holding, that's my baby sister, Latanja. And my sister is now a medical doctor. She is a pathologist. And so that's my story. That's us in the very beginning. My father in that picture is probably about 23 years old, maybe 24. So he's really, really young. When you get to my age, a 23, 24-year-old seems like a kid, right? So that's one kid raising two kids and kind of doing something that was tough. And so one of the things I said was, and here's what I wrote, and I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to kind of explain to you how it connects to economic elevation. So I wrote, my biological father abandoned me when I was a baby. My stepfather, pictured here, chose to marry my mother at the age of 22 and take care of us. I'm sure a lot of men don't understand why he would take care of another man's child, but I was so appreciative that when I got older, I bought him a new van and finished paying off his house. There's nothing I wouldn't do for this man. I also thank my mother for choosing not to abort me. When you invest in kids when they are young, they look out for you when you get older. This is the side of investing that nobody talks about. The greatest investments we can make in life are not stocks, bonds, or real estate. The most significant investments we can make are in people. And so I made that point to not because it's a feel good point, but I made the point because I want you to really understand how wealthy you are. A lot of us think that we're not wealthy because we don't have any money. And that is a falsehood. That is a myth. It does not mean that money does not matter. We talk about money and wealth every single day. But one of the secrets to really accelerating your wealth is to find all the wealth that exists around you that does not show up in the form of a green piece of paper. Do you understand? In fact, the green piece of paper called the dollar, in case you don't know, it's not really backed by anything. It used to be backed by gold. Now it's not backed by anything other than your enormous faith in white people, in the white men who run the government. No disrespect to white people. If you're white, we still love you, but it's the facts. This is the facts, right? So that piece of paper has a value because you psychologically believe that it has value. If we stop believing in the dollar, then the dollar loses a lot of its value. Okay. And so, but again, the dollars matter. I want you to have lots of dollars in your pocket. So don't think that I'm sitting here trying to inflate us with conspiracy theories, but I just want you to understand what wealth generally looks like. So, so the other reason I thought about my dad was not just because I had that personal experience of going back to Colleen and reflecting on how, the beginnings and how fragile things were. I mean, a lot of things could have went wrong. If my parents had just decided, on a bad day, hey, I hate you, I'm leaving, and my dad just bounced out and left the house, there's no telling what would have happened to me. If my mother, as a 17-year-old single mother without support from my biological father, if she had bumped into, some person at Planned Parenthood who said, that we can make this problem go away in about 20 minutes, then I would not exist, right? I would have been the problem. I would have gone away. Now, the other side of that, though, is that when we've sat around as a family and had honest conversations about these things and how tough things were, the choices that were made, little tiny decisions that were made that led to long-term implications, that made me think about a concept in economics that we refer to as ripple effects. And ripple effects are when you make little bitty decisions in your life that you think don't matter at the moment. Like you might go to the bathroom at 10:02 instead of going to the bathroom at 10:07. And the fact that you went to the bathroom at 10:02 means you bumped into this person on your way to the bathroom who happens to become your wife and you're married for the next 40 years, right? But if you had gone to the bathroom at 10:07, you would have had a whole different timeline that you would have lived that would not have involved this person and you wouldn't even know what you were missing out on. So I kind of think about that when I think about those weird beginnings in terms of my own family and how that actually translated into something, good or bad, depending on how you look at it. So let me explain what I see now. Now that I look at, I try to, now that I'm able to look at things from a more conscious perspective, I can go from three-dimensional space to the fourth dimension where I now have access to time and I can look at the whole timeline. I can look at the whole timeline of everything that's happened since I was that 4-year-old kid in Killeen, Texas, to the 53-year-old man who's living outside of Chicago and doing what I do every day. And I really kind of think it's interesting to reflect on how the decision to invest in people, how that played out economically and as well as socially and otherwise, but then also the little pivot decisions that were made to kind of even allow that to happen. So if you looked at my dad, one of the things that my father had that allowed it to occur was that he's a very solid man. At that time, in that picture, he was just coming off of a heroin addiction in that picture. Like a lot of black men that went to Vietnam, it was such a horrible nightmare, such a terrible place that they had to turn to drugs sometimes. Not had to, but the drugs would numb them from the horrible experience they were going through. Black men, a lot of black men were really harmed by Vietnam because they had projects that people don't talk about, like Project 100,000, where Defense Secretary McNamara said because we can't get white people to go to Vietnam, we need to go get 100,000 black men, and we're going to lie to them. We're going to tell their mothers that they're going to that they're going to get these great jobs and great skills and come back and be an asset to the community when actually many of them didn't come back as assets to the community. A lot of them never came back at all, and a lot of them came back on drugs or came back, with some significant disabilities, PTSD, everything else. And this is an example of another case where just being lied to led to somebody taking an asset. Like think about it, a good son is a wonderful asset to the family. A good, hardworking, intelligent son who is ready to fight and defend and support and provide is a wonderful asset for the family. A good man, give me a guess if you agree, if you understand how much of an asset a good man can be in somebody's life. Give me a yes if you've seen what a good man looks like. Because sometimes they lie to us. They show us these raggedy guys on TV and they're like, these are the leaders. No, tell me if you've seen this. A good, solid man is an asset to everybody. A good, solid man protected me growing up. A good, solid man made sure that there wasn't no R. Kelly sneaking into my sister's bedroom because they would have probably not lived to see the next day. A good man will go out and hustle and fight for the family. He'll provide. He'll do. He's just that's an important. So think about this, right? So when they ran this, what was really a scam, with the Vietnam War, Project 100,000, look it up. They were literally saying we want to go get this asset out of the black community, and we're going to manipulate these easily manipulated people, these gullible people, and we're going to get them to send their asset, their sons, to come to fight with us, and we're going to promise them all these wonderful things, but really we just need people to go into infantry. And actually, believe it or not, when I was on the faculty at Syracuse University, I had a really great department chair. I did A lot of the white people didn't like me, they didn't understand me, and I get that. If I was white, I wouldn't understand me either. But there was one white guy that was in my department who was my department chair. His name was Peter Kovios, and Peter Kovios. I just had so much admiration for this man. And one thing he told me was, he said, when I was in the military and it was during Vietnam, he said, I wrote a letter to the government complaining that every time they were sending soldiers to go over to Vietnam, they kept sending the black guys. The white man said this to me. He said, I noticed. He said, I don't understand. How come every time it's time to go fight, you're always sending the black guys, right? And he had the courage. Again, why would he even have to do this? This ain't his issue, but he did this, right? And this is why we can't say everybody's bad, because this man was trying to do the right thing. And that by just doing what he did, he showed more courage and concern than I see from some of our own people sometimes, right? So anyway, so with that, sort of going back to the original premise of this conversation, I promise it links to economics. I promise you it does. So my father's decision to just be consistent and solid, and to come home every day to a family versus all the other things he could have been doing. He could have been chasing women. Lots of girls liked him. My father was a very handsome man. I even saw, when I was a little kid, I noticed how the ladies would look at him. He could have been chasing women. He could have been chasing heroin. I'm sure heroin is much more fun than the stress of managing a family. He could have been doing a lot of things, right? And also money was tight. So he could have easily said, look, I just can't afford a family. I'm just going to go and take care of me, and that's it. And that's a mindset, right? That's the mindset that allowed him to get past all that, was the fact that he was raised in a family where you felt as a man that you had a responsibility. He attached to his masculinity the need to provide and protect for other people, right? He didn't sort of take a little boy route and say, well, I'm just too much of a kid and I can't do this on my own, it's too hard, I'm going to quit, right? So the decision really to quit things is really very arbitrary, right? There's some people who quit, some people who don't. I think people who don't quit are the ones who are most successful. Give me a yes if you agree. Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying here. All right. Now, on the flip side of that, my mother's tiny little butterfly effect, or ripple effect, pivot moment, was when she just decided, you know what, I want to have this baby. I don't know how I'm going to take care of it. I don't know what I'm going to do next. And she talks about going to church, and she was so scared because back in the 1960s, it was really bad to be a 16-year-old that was pregnant. I mean, people say horrible things about you. You're a whore. You're this. You're that. You know how mean we are to women when they have children when they're young. That's why I encourage you, if that happens to you, don't just be a decent person. Like, don't do that. I think a child's a blessing, even if they come at a time that's not convenient for us. Remember, that's where we talked about the difference between our plan, Massa's plan, and God's plan, right? So maybe our plan is, well, I'm not going to have a baby until I'm ready. Maybe Massa's plan is, if you get pregnant, we need to give you an option to go ahead and get rid of that baby. And God's plan might be, no, you need to give birth to this child because you could be giving birth to the next Martin Luther King, right? You might have the next Malcolm X inside your body, and only a black woman's womb can produce a Malcolm X, right? Seriously. So again, that circles back to that point about what true assets really look like, and I just really just think that it's absolutely just a complete abomination that there's been the mass marketing of black women is very, very cheap, right? Because the black woman's womb is incredibly valuable, incredibly sacred, because that's where we all come from, right? So, with that being said, my mother's decision to not abort me was, something that she said. She was in church, she was scared to death. She was just sitting at the altar praying and praying and praying. Everybody was looking at her like, "What's wrong with that girl? Why isn't she getting up?" And she just kept praying because she was so scared. And so, what she told me, and I've mentioned this before, and I don't mention it too much because I get choked up when I think about it, is she said that she was basically telling God, like, I can't take care of this baby. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so scared. I'm giving this baby to you. She just said, I gave you to God, right? And I gotta stop. 'Cause every time I talk, I don't know why, but for some reason, I just feel what that scared 16-year-old girl must have been going through. And what she said that was really interesting, I'll never forget this, is she said, I knew that you were supposed to do something special, right? She said that. And And I mean, man. So this has stayed with me, as you can tell, it stayed with me my whole life. I have told this story a few times, and every time, for whatever reason, I start feeling something, and I gotta like maybe talk to a therapist about that. But anyway, um, and I can't tell you how many times I thanked her for that. How many times I've been like, thank you, thank you for having courage. Um, and and so and then my father, I'm like, thank you. I could have, ain't no telling what would have happened to me without that guidance of a father, and that decision. And I think this is where I end up getting offended, when we have people that will just like almost make fun of men that choose to take care of children that happen to be somebody else's kids. Because I think black kids are precious, they are a blessing, and they are an asset to your life if you manage the asset properly. And so one reason I always say that if we were to develop our own educational process, I would literally train millions of children on how to be good parents, how to be good fathers, how to be good mothers, how to guide and raise a child to activate the power of that child. It is just unbelievably offensive to me that we handing our kids over to these racist white folks in these damn crappy public schools, and they are taking something that could be very, very powerful and they are neutralizing it. They are literally intellectually neutering these children in this system, and it is very offensive to me. And so, long story short, as the years go by and I became very conscious of the very fragile decisions that were made by these young, scared kids to keep our family together. And now, now we've grown up. And this is something that people don't understand because I don't think consciousness is promoted in our society. See, guys who are out making babies and splattering their seed everywhere and just pleasure seeking at the expense of legacy, they learn when they get to be 45, 50 years old that eventually these kids grow up and they start asking questions. They start saying, well, Daddy, what the hell were you doing? Like, Mama, what were you thinking? Why were you spreading your legs for everybody that walk, with a bag of potato chips? Why, Daddy, why were you out here just dropping your junk into any pretty girl that walked by? Kids do that. Kids grow up and then they become adults. And these adults can either indict you for the choices you made when you were young, or they will applaud you for the choices that were made when you were young. So they will either punish you or they will reward you. And this is an interesting aspect of consciousness that I don't think gets discussed enough. And when you live in a society of instant gratification where nobody's looking like, okay, how's this going to play out for me 5 years down the road? How's this going to look 20 years down the road? Nobody talks about that. You got to understand that same mentality that what might make a man go chasing skirts and be a five-time baby daddy to a bunch of kids splattered everywhere is the same mindset that has led to the to retirement crisis. Millions of people are not ready to retire because they spent their 20s, 30s, and 40s thinking that the future was never going to arrive. A lot of people are not prepared for economically and otherwise because they just live day to day and didn't have that foresight to think, what's this going to look like? What am I of investing for the future? I mean, people have health problems because for 20 or 30 or 40 years, they just ate what tasted good instead of thinking about what was going to keep them healthy. Right? And I don't think any of us escape from this. I've gotten fat before, and I still am a little bit, right? So it doesn't say any of us have this perfect. But what was interesting is we don't have enough conversations about that. And then the chickens come home to roost. They always come home to roost. Sometimes the chickens look like your little kids who are like, now you got this 30-year-old son who's like, Daddy, you ain't shit. And you never thought that baby was ever going to grow up. Now he's grown up and he's stronger than you. And he's looking at you and saying, so you're old now. You're now 70 years old, headed to the nursing home, 80 years old, whatever. And your son is like, I'm not coming to see you. I don't owe you nothing. You hurt me, and I'm mad at you. I have no respect for you. I don't like you. And this is what's happening in millions of families across this country because back in the 1980s and 1990s, daddy wasn't thinking about nothing except getting laid. The same thing might be true with mamas too, all right? So it's not to say anybody's exempt from this. So here's the thing. So if you want to know where this fits exactly in from an investing standpoint, let me explain what happened with my parents. Because little Coco, that was me in the picture, grows up and becomes Dr. Boyce now. I'm a grown man. I'm stronger than my father. I observe things at a very high level now, and I now am deeply appreciative of everything my parents sacrificed to get me here because my father, I know he did not have to do that. My sister is a pathologist who makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. My brother, is doing quite well. So now, as a result, our parents don't want for anything. There's nothing we wouldn't do for them when they are in trouble, when they have an issue, health issue, whatever it is, the kids all get together. We have a meeting. We say, "Don't worry, we got it now. We got you. You're good." Right? And we take care of that. Do you understand? Like they did. Now they were smart. They planned for retirement, they saved, they had pensions and all that. But they could literally have nothing and still live quite well because they poured into us so much that it led us to be able to be successful on our own. So what I really want you to understand, and I really have to reiterate this point, is that it's really important that we reframe what children are in our lives and what they could be in our lives. Sometimes the kids grow up and they become liabilities, and that might be because we didn't prepare that child to be an asset. There's a specific way our parents raised us. It wasn't perfect, but there was a specific way they raised us to be independent. They raised us to value education. So we went to school forever. Me and my sister both went to school till we were damn near 30 years old. I was 30 when I graduated, over 31 actually, right? We valued personal responsibility. We understood that there was a code of conduct in the family. You don't go out here acting a damn fool. You handle your business. You take care of your responsibilities. And as a result, what happens is that when the kids get together and do something for mama or daddy, we don't have to worry about like, oh well, he's over on drugs, or she don't care nothing about the family because she's mad. She don't want to come home no more. A lot of families have these issues. And so even though my father he definitely was that military commander kind of guy and that can rub people the wrong way. He definitely was not a politically correct kind of father on by any stretch. He managed his house quite well. And because of that management, now that he is older, guess who the oldest son is that's absolutely positively going to make sure that that tradition continues in the family. Do you understand? So my point is to say that when you talk about investing, you gotta remember the biggest investment you'll ever make in life is your investment in people. Do not look at children. America gets it wrong. America looks at children as a big fat liability. They look at children as what is referred to in economics as a luxury item. That children are something you do if you got extra money to burn and you can just feed these little worthless SOBs and just kind of handle all that responsibility. But otherwise, it's getting in the way of all your partying you could be doing and getting laid and chasing women and all that. That is not what children are. Children, yeah, it does start off as an investment, right? Children will test your patience. Children will require you to grow. Children will be very expensive. But if you raise the children right and you feed them not just with money, but you're also pouring in love and guidance, these children become tremendous assets to your life. And I don't know if people talk about that enough. I think people, I watch how young people do. Like I watch everything. I see everything like the balloon popping shows and how people pick their mates. And I'm like, wow, this is such a terrible way to pick a partner. You're picking your baby mama in 2 minutes. Like you're gonna mess up. You're gonna really sign up for something bad because all of investing theory says that when you make a substantial investment, you do your due diligence. You research what you're going to invest in. You don't just dive into stuff recklessly and then hope for the best. See, here's the thing. You can't hope for success in life. You plan for it. Wishing is for suckers. Hoping is for people that are powerless. Planning and preparing is how you win the battle. So at the end of the day, I don't know if everybody has a battle plan. I don't know if that's talked about enough. And I hope that this makes sense. I didn't want to make this too much about me, but this is what was on my mind, and this is what I wanted to share, and I hope that that's okay. Um, before one more, I'm going to talk about a couple more things before we go. Oh, yeah. And before I do that, though, I want to remind everybody today at noon Eastern, I'm going to do a portfolio power play. It's going to be purely stock market conversation. If you want to join our stock market investors group, then I will send you a link to do a 30-day free trial to see if you like it. You'll get that link. You'll get that text message this afternoon. So text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I'll send you an invitation. Let's talk about one more thing. You all know that today is a special day because it's election day. It's a very big deal, and a lot of people are talking about the election. Now, again, y'all know my position. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I don't do that. Yesterday, in fact, it was really funny. I brought in a brother named Tony Lindsay onto my channel, and there were supposed to be four of us, but I messed up because I got the date wrong when I sent them the link. And so Jamal Green and Terrain Walker are actually going to join me tonight at 8 o'clock on drboycetv.com. So we're going to just talk about the election more so from a black men's perspective. So I'll send you all a link for that. Um, but anyway, last night I didn't know Tony was such a big Trump guy. He was really telling people vote for Trump, and I was like, ah, gosh, I'm not a Trump guy. It was kind of, but I was like, okay, well, let's have a conversation because I like talking to people on both sides of the aisle, all sides of the aisle, and I think that that's okay. I think that's a good thing. Um, Now, with that said, though, I wanted to talk about something that will give you another perspective on this in terms of, let me ask you this. How many of you would agree that economics is one of, if not the most important issue in elections and in voting? Give me a yes if you agree that, that the economics of your family probably overrides almost anything else. Whether Democrat or Republicans in office, you're really kind of thinking about how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to buy stuff at the grocery store, stuff like that, right? Give me a yes. Okay. All right. So let me give you some perspectives on this to help you understand where my position is coming from. You don't have to agree. Just hear me out on this. And also, by the way, before I move on with that, I want to mention yesterday, a lot of you saw Brother Nuri Muhammad. He did a damn good job. He's an extraordinary man. And I was super pumped up about, about him doing a class in the Black Business School. And right after we got done, uh, we got a notice that it's not the right time to do the class. So I was heartbroken. I was very sad. But y'all know I still love Brother Nuri 100%. So in case you're wondering why you never got a link to join the class, that is why. So there will not be a class from Brother Nuri, at least not right now. I'm gonna still keep trying to talk to him about it, and maybe at some point when everything's clear, he can do that. So for reasons that I won't go into, that is not gonna happen. So I apologize, everybody. All right, so but we'll keep going. There's other stuff happening. Okay. Now, here is something I wanted to share with you that involves politics and economics. Now, one of the things that we've mentioned before is that unfortunately, if you read Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics, he explains that black people vote more than anybody, but our wealth has not gone up. If you look at where black people ranked in wealth 50 years ago, we were dead last at the bottom. If you look at where black people rank in terms of wealth right now, we're still dead last at the very bottom. That has not changed at all. Now, the research says that financial choices actually, your personal financial choices, your community financial culture actually has more of an impact on your wealth than who you voted for. That literally, I'm not telling you to vote or not to vote, right? I'm a believer that it's your right to make your decision because that's what it means to be in a free society. But if anybody ever makes you think that voting is the best pathway to improve the economic status of the black community, the data just does not support that. So let me give you an example. The Asian American communities, they have very low voter turnout, but they built major economic power. Here's how they have become so wealthy. They save a lot. We've talked about savings. They emphasize education. Education's really, really important for the Asian community. And also, they invest when they pick a career, they tend to invest in high income careers. So again, I've been a person who've always said that the world should be bigger than just your job. But when they pick a job, again, not to stereotype, but the Asian community tends to pick jobs that are going to pay them good money. They don't go for average, mediocre stuff. They go for the top stuff. Also, many Asian Americans prioritize financial education. So when they get their money, they know how to manage it. They also prioritize business ownership. They have lots and lots of entrepreneurs. They also tend to buy lots of real estate, and they start family businesses. That in most Asian families, according to the studies, is more important than whether you're Democrat or Republican. Other communities that do well, Nigerian Americans actually do quite well. They have very high median incomes, higher than the national average, despite the fact that they also don't have high political participation. They place a lot of value, again, on education and entrepreneurship, which tends to lead to high economic outcomes without political influence. Some other groups are like Amish and Mennonite communities. In fact, for religious reasons, they don't hardly vote at all. But they have very strong financial stability through community-owned businesses, land ownership, and just frugal living, right? They don't live like rappers. They're not influenced by rapper culture. They're influenced by frugal culture. They're modest culture. Their success highlights, I'm reading here, how focused economic practices within the community can foster financial resilience regardless of political engagement. Okay, so that's another example. A study from the Economic Policy Institute found that individual financial decisions, such as your savings rate, how you manage your debt, and investment, explains most of the wealth disparity in America. Households that prioritize long term financial stability and practice consistent savings accumulate wealth at a higher rate, regardless of political affiliation or election outcomes. So here's the point that I want you to walk away with all this data is that it really doesn't matter who wins this election or any other election when it comes to your economic outcomes. What matters is what you choose to do and what culture you choose to embrace. If you go vote and your candidate wins, but yet you are imitating the financial choices that are mass marketed to black people through the rappers, you're probably going to end up broke. You're probably going to end up broke. The fact that hip hop culture is so influential in the African American community is a very big reason why black wealth is dropping, because the general idea is that when you get money, the first thing you're supposed to do is spend it. And you spend it for social reasons, to look fly, to flex on Instagram. In my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, I refer to that as economic immaturity. You're really conditioned and trained to be financially immature. You're trained to be financially goofy. And you see that. Go float through Instagram and see how many young guys you'll see, with a stack of $100 bills, pretending like it's a cell phone, or somebody who's dressed in like Louis Vuitton and Gucci from head to toe, and somehow they think that that doesn't make them look like a complete clown. And so that sort of wasteful financial lifestyle is also pressed up against the fact that you're already economically oppressed and excluded from society anyway, which is also compressed with the fact that you're not trained to do the things that tend to build wealth. The things that build wealth in America are threefold. Very simple. Write this down: real estate ownership, stock market investing, entrepreneurship. Let me ask y'all a question. How many of you were exposed to any of those three ideas on, say, a weekly basis in high school? Like weekly, from the school. Not Let's not even talk about family. Some of y'all had good families, some of you didn't. But let's say at school, every week, you were exposed to stock market investing, real estate investing, and or entrepreneurship. One of those three things, or maybe two of the three, or all three. Anybody? Most of us were not. Most of us were not. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that in America, you could think of America's economy like a football team. And on a football team, everybody has a position. You got the quarterback who throws the ball, the wide receiver who catches the ball. You've got the defensive tackle who goes in and sacks the quarterback. Everybody's got a position. So in this great economy, your position as black people might be that of, say, the water boy or the cheerleader. You're not really supposed to be in the game. You're not going to be the star. You're not going to get all the yards because the coach says you can't, you're not a player. You're not even equipped to play. We didn't, you didn't, you haven't, we didn't send you to the weight room. We didn't take you in the room where we were doing the X's and O's. We taught you nothing about the strategy of the game. But what you can do is you can deliver water to the real players as they come off the field. Do you understand? Or maybe you can be a cheerleader and do cheers for the people that score touchdowns, but you're not really sort of positioned in the game. So in America, I believe that the goal of the American educational system as it pertains to descendants of slaves is to train you to play your position. That's it. They train you to play your position. You don't teach the water boy how to throw the ball 80 yards down the field. Why would you do that? He's the water boy. Just get the Gatorade. Sometimes you become the Gatorade boy, right? So that's it. Your job is to simply sit to the sideline. And so, as these big economic decisions are being made, as billion-dollar companies are being formed, multi-million-dollar real estate deals are being done, maybe you'll get to be come in the room and clean up the office after everybody's done working, or maybe you'll get a chance to be a manager within an organization where somebody else at the top is making these billion-dollar deals, and you are the support. You're the backup. Right? Because you don't own the institution. You're not guiding where this football team's going to go. You're not designing the playbook for how we're going to run the offense. That's beyond your qualification. So I think that in America, the goal is to teach us to play our position. And what happens with someone like me, I would argue, is that I'm not playing the position that they designed for me. I show up and I'm the guy who actually knows economics better than the white guys. And I think that that's a little weird for them. And also the other thing too that's interesting is from a political standpoint, I think these little differences are the reasons why being a black descendant of slavery is so important if you want to talk about it from a political standpoint. A black person from another country that comes to America, God bless them, nothing against them, is not the same as a black person who says, I have been inundated with 400 years of slave master culture that still is a habit that America refuses to let go of. That this is all this is a two-person tango. It's the oppressor's job to oppress, and it's the oppressed job to sit there and be oppressed. And we're addicted to this. We're addicted to this relationship. If you've been the water boy for the last 12 seasons, how are you gonna switch from being the water boy to the damn quarterback? Do y'all follow what I'm saying? The process, let's sit on that for a minute. How the hell is the water boy gonna learn how to do what the quarterback does? That's a whole new training regimen. That's a whole new process. So a lot of thinking has to be shifted. First, the thinking of the coach has to shift. The coaches and the other players. First, the coach is going to be like, "What the hell's what are you talking about? We can't make the water boy into the quarterback." And then the other players are going to be like, "What the hell's going on? No, we need a real quarterback. He's not. That person shouldn't be on the field at all. Let alone be quarterbacking the team. I'm not going to follow directions from this guy, right?" And then your mindset has to change. You're a 10th generation water boy, so you have to really, really, really disconnect yourself from the previously existing system to even begin to fathom what the world would look like if you're actually the one throwing the ball down the field. And then when you don't know how to throw the ball down the field, it's easy to lose your confidence and say, I can't do what the quarterback does. I don't have any training. So this is one of the reasons why I think that disconnecting a little bit allows you to sort of reset and rebuild. This is one of the reasons why in our Black Core of Three in the Black Business School, we believe Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black-owned businesses. I think, when people ask me about the school system and what do you think can be done to fix it, I say, no, just take these damn kids out of this damn system. This system's terrible. Money is addictive, and they're addicted to the money that they make by basically stocking Black kids up like cattle, dragging them through the school system, and then 80% of them come out and can't read at grade level, and everybody's like, oh, everything's fine. It's not fine. This is sick. This is crazy. It's only fine if you have the absolute lowest standard. So the water boy being the water boy is fine if everybody's used to the water boy being the water boy. But the minute somebody says, no, actually, the water boy should have been the damn quarterback, that's going to disrupt a whole lot of people's perception of how things are supposed to work, including the water boy. Even he's going to be like, what are you, what? No, not me. I can't do that. But some of y'all, like me, some of us come from families where we're like 10th generation water boys, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be your water boy. I'm the quarterback up in this mug. That's a shift, right? So I would encourage you, in my opinion, here's where I want to go with this. I'm gonna finish with this. I want you to make the shift. I want you to make the shift. I want your kids to make the shift. I want you to break the generational curse. We've got a generational curse where America wants black people to play our position. And I think we need to walk away from that pre-existing system, hit the reset button, and say, no, here's how I'm showing up. I'm not showing up. I'm not your boy. I'm not your employee, unless it's temporary. I'm not just your goofy consumer that's going to buy up all the crap that you're making in your factory. I want to be the, not I want to be the consumer. I want to be the producer. I don't want to just be the borrower. I want to be the investor. No, I'm not. I'm not here just to be the renter. I'm going to be the landlord sometimes too, and you're just going to have to adjust to that. And not only am I demanding a different position in society, but I've also been trained to do that. I'm prepared to do that. Do you understand? So when you want to come up, it ain't just a matter of people allowing you to come up. You must prepare yourself for the come up. And preparing yourself for the come up means that if I want rich children, I got to educate my children the way rich people educate their children. Do you understand? So I'm not just going, I was sitting there talking to our 21-year-old last night, and I said, I said, man, you could go your whole life and like work for other people and stuff, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. I said that's not really all that much fun, and I don't think that's what you have to do unless you choose to do it. I can't stop you. But with the stuff I just showed you on how to sell stock options, you literally wouldn't have to work for the rest of your life. I just showed you how with just one stock, I'm able to make enough money that it exceeds the income of the average American, and I can do that in 5 minutes. So I'm showing you this, and I'm just telling you like it's up to you, but I wouldn't listen to all these people that tell you that you have to work for the rest of your life because I don't think being at work all day is really that much fun. So, but it's up to you to make that decision. So, and you have to have these conversations with your kids. So, things that you're learning, things you're being exposed to, share that with children, share that with grandchildren, share that with anybody who will listen. The people that won't listen, that's okay. It's okay. Sometimes the water boy enjoys his job, and it's okay. Maybe he doesn't have the self-esteem or the courage, right? But for those of you that get what I'm saying, that get a fraction of what I'm saying, run with the damn thing, run with that ball, and don't let nobody stop you. Don't be scared of nothing. Go out here and be what you know you're supposed to be, and that's it. Same thing with those kids. I think our people and our children could be so much greater than what America makes them into. And again, with this election, yeah, there's a lot to talk about and stuff like that. But I don't care who wins the election. If you make certain decisions in your family, you are going to win. Period. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you for listening. It was great to see you. As you all know, we do Money in the Morning Economic Elevation every single morning, 7 days a week. If you want to get a text notification when we go live, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Or if you live in another country, you can go to b1moneytips.com and sign up there if you'd like. Also, later on today at noon, I'll be doing the portfolio power play, and it'll be all stock market conversation at that point. So if that's of interest to you and you want to do a free trial on a stock market investing club, I'll text you guys a link this afternoon where you can join. Also, theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com is where you can sign up for that. All right. So again, sorry about what happened with Brother Nuri's class. Sometimes things happen that are out of your control, but we love Brother Nuri 100%, and I'm gonna bring him back at some point. And so there we go. There's that. All right, guys. So have a good day. God bless you, and thanks for hanging out with me. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care.